I was probably a binge drinker. Funny enough, it was a byproduct of what helped me get to the level I got to in hockey. And, I've had 16 surgeries and my body's sore, and we use that as an excuse. The kick in the nuts was my kids telling me to stop drinking.
What was it like when your boys came to you?
That was the day I said, okay, well, then I'm done.
Inducted into the NHL Hall of Fame, MVP for the 99-2000 season, the first defenseman since Bobby Orr in 1972. Won the Cup with the Ducks in 07, 2 Olympic golds, ranked as one of the 100 greatest players in NHL history. I would imagine there were a lot of expectations.
It was a rough start to my career. Got thrown in jail for what? I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I knew who I was as a player, but I didn't really know who I was as a person. Oh, you're Chris the hockey player. You can't buy into that that's your identity, because someday you are going to be done and nobody's going to give a shit that you were Joe the hockey player.
A concussion took you out for good, huh?
Yeah.
What happened there?
As much as you planned for it and as much as you think you're prepared for it, the end always sucks. If you've never had adversity and it's always been a straight line up, how do you know this is where you're supposed to be? What if you should have been up here?
And now you're out on the speaking scene. You're doing a lot of keynotes.
People want to pigeonhole you into telling you who you are versus you showing who you are. Unlearn being told who you are, just go prove them wrong.
Dude, a year ago, how much did you weigh a year ago?
243.
And what are you right now?
220. Just weighed myself this morning.
Damn. And you've put on muscle, yeah?
Yeah.
So you've put on muscle, so you've lost a lot of fat.
Lard.
Was that as much as you weighed?
Oh, that's as heavy as I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really... You can see it, but it's like when you're losing it, you don't, if you look at a picture one day and you look at a picture 90 days later, you see the difference. But if you've seen it every day, you don't really notice the difference.
You carried it well too. You're a bigger guy.
Yeah, you can hide it, but you take your shirt off, you can tell. I mean.
Well, I noticed that with, no offense to my buddies up at, in Idaho.
Yeah.
The other ex-hockey players, they don't take their shirt off that often.
No. And
you're right.
That's the thing.
They don't want a little baggier, and
they get the baggy shirt, the baggy shorts, the baggy shirt, and then they just don't ever take their shirts off.
You give them a little hug, and it's a little soft.
Can't quite touch my hands.
So, what inspired the change?
A couple things. I would say the kick in the nuts was my kids telling me to stop drinking. That was probably and I was kind of going on and off. No, I don't like saying diet, just how I ate.
Yeah.
Kind of in and out of how I ate when I played. And then, cheat meals and, I like ice cream. I like chocolate chip cookies. I like chocolate. And, once you start, it's hard to stop. And so I just, from an eating perspective, was not eating good foods. And then, drinking probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not eating good when you're drinking.
No.
Or you're eating late.
For sure.
And, just, it was becoming too much. And I was noticing even after my concussions 12 years ago when I had to retire, the moment I would take a drink of alcohol, I would feel it in my head. I could feel it right away.
Wow.
Just, you not where you're getting a buzz, but I could feel something immediately go right to my head, which, was odd. And I've talked to a lot of ex-hockey guys and other athletes that have quit drinking because of concussions. And then they quit drinking because of how it made them feel. And they felt, I think, a lot of the same things that I felt.
Yeah. What was it like when your boys came to you?
Not... I think it was, there's obviously a lead up to it.
Yeah.
And you don't really, it's probably not good, but you're not noticing the frequency that they are in how drunk you're getting or how you're acting or, what have you. And, I think ultimately when they sit We had a come to Jesus moment when I was with my kids down at Parents Weekend. Funny enough,
Yeah.
I was having a good time.
Yeah.
And until I wasn't having a good time, and it was that night they sat me down like, we don't like how you are when you're drinking. Why do you need to drink? And I'm like, well, I don't have to. And that was the day I said, okay, well then I'm done.
Wow.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
And, Lauren had talked to me about it a few times and, it was always like, yeah, I know, I just need to curb it. It's, I got a little sideways out on that one, whatever. You just make excuses.
We've got all the excuses, don't we?
There's always an excuse. And so for me, it was just, like anything else, like the moment I decide, okay, I'm doing this, then I just said, well, the easiest thing to do, I need to get back into shape. I was not feeling great. I was feeling heavy. I was feeling not fit or not as fit as I would like. And I needed to get back into shape. I needed some purpose, something to look forward to. And I was like, you know what? I'll just do 75 hard. And
dude, right into the fucking deep end.
I mean, listen, if you're going to do it, just do it.
I suppose.
Fuck. So I actually, we're talking about eating, no sugar, no cheat meals, no alcohol, a gallon of water a day, 2 workouts a day, 45 minutes. One needs to be outside. So it's snowing, it's raining. There were times where my flight got delayed. I was going into Dallas for something with the boys, and my flight got delayed and it was pouring. And I got in and I'm looking at my clock, my watch going, okay, I got to get moving here. I got to get my walk in.
Oh my God.
And like 11 o'clock, I'm like, holy shit, I got to get this in. It is pouring. And I'm like, I get to my son's house. I'm like, I need the shittiest shoes you got. I'm going to get drenched, but I got to get my walk in. And so just instilling that discipline and getting back to the discipline that I had when I played, it just gets your mind right. It kind of, a lot of it is mindset. A lot of it is the physical part, but the biggest part is the discipline and the mindset of doing hard things, getting uncomfortable, being uncomfortable. And ultimately you are comfortable putting yourself in those situations and positions.
Well, yeah. And I think as you were talking about, when we get in those cycles of we're drinking too much, we're doing something too much, right? And in my case, can be anything from caffeine to, it can be cannabis at times. It can be not a big drinker. I like my feel freeze. I like these other things that change the way I feel.
Yeah.
Or they allow me to not feel what I'm being asked to feel in the moment.
Yeah.
And I kid myself in how much I was using them. Now, right now I can say that I'm not on anything. But I remember, do you know what hape is? Hape is Amazonian tobacco snuff that they use in the Amazon, and it's used for ceremony, and it's very beautiful, and people like to use it for their meditations. I used, one of the reasons I enjoyed it because it got me from out of my head and into my body when I was meditating. I really enjoyed that. But like these other things, I'd have it on the golf course and I would be, you blow it up your nose. And so I'd just be, sometimes in between shots, I just do a little toot, right? And again, you don't think people are kind of noticing as much. And I was talking with a buddy of mine who would come to visit me and played golf with me up there. And I said, yeah, I'm off everything. I'm off the hop in. He goes, geez, yeah, dude, you're fucking doing that all the time. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
You just think you're being so cool.
Yeah. You're not paying attention. And it didn't help that I had started a whiskey company and I was out promoting it. And so it was just, don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah, dude, no shit.
So it was just, and for the longest time, I've had, I was probably a binge drinker in that I didn't drink a ton when I played.
Well, we talked about this at breakfast. You have a very interesting story about how that, kind of came to be, which is, again, from a very almost innocent beginning. It on paper, it makes sense. But when you couple it with shit we're going through.
And the types of personalities that we have.
Oh, I've just realized I came to this, talk about a come to Jesus moment. I don't have a moderation setting with anything. And so I need to be really careful what substances or anything for that matter that I decide to engage in, because it won't just be one. It may be one for a week or 2 weeks, but eventually, if I'm not feeling
One's
okay
not good
about
enough.
me, yeah, two's always better.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, I'd love for you to share like how this this binge drinking potentially was kind of ignited.
Funny enough, it was a byproduct of what helped me get to the level I got to in hockey. I had a trainer, Charles Poliquin, who my D partner in St. Louis, Al McInnes, introduced me to. And funny enough, when I first met him, I met him over at Al's house, and I walked in and I literally went from here to the window, took 3 steps, and he looked at me and goes, "You got a bad left shoulder?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Your right knee sore?" I go, "Yeah." 3 steps. Saw the gait that I had, the way that I was moving. He's like, "We can fix that." He started working on this protocol. But when we started doing that, we went through my diet. I mean, I was eating Eggos in the morning, Eggo waffles and all this stuff. And he's like, "We need to fix your diet. Here's what you're going to eat. Here's what you're going to drink on the golf course. Here's all the stuff that you're going to ingest. Here's the supplements, on and on. And, do you drink?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I drink." And he's like, "Okay, well, we're going to go through your calendar and we're going to pick 1 day a week where you're allowed to drink. And I don't care how many, if you cannot, like I'd sit there with my buddies on my patio and look at the lake and we'd have 4 or 5 beer. And then I go to bed." He's like, "You can't do that. I'd rather you drink 20 beer a night in one night than do 5 beer every, for 4 nights. It's going to be in and out of your system. It's not going to matter. If you overload your calories in one day, it's not going to affect the training, let alone the hangover or anything that's going to come from it." But so from that, it just became my protocol to how I mapped out my summers, my off season. Everything was based around that concept. And so you don't really pay attention to it. And I'm like you, I don't have a governor. If I'm drinking water, it doesn't matter what I'm drinking. I drink it fast.
Yeah.
And often.
Yeah.
So drinking 75 hard, drinking a gallon of water was no problem for me. I actually had to watch myself from drinking too much.
Oh, sure.
Because too much water is bad for you too. So
that's right.
I had to really kind of governor what I was drinking and how quickly I was taking down H2O. But so you
adhered to that while you were playing, and then
then I was done, and then it didn't, I wasn't training the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's no reason to have a limit as to the number of days.
Right.
And, I'm probably speaking for pretty much the whole country. During COVID, it went way off the rails.
Correct.
I was drinking every day. I was looking at the clock going, okay, is it noon yet?
Yeah.
And just what else are you going to do? And so, I'd work out I'd work out hard in the mornings. Every day I'd work out hard. It wasn't affecting my workouts, but it was just the habit. Oh, this is, and, I've had 16 surgeries and my body's sore and stuff. And, we use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
That that's going to be my crutch. I can just say, my body was sore and I'm just trying to medicate it and I'm going to do all these things. And, it's just an excuse. Does it need, did it feel better at the time? Yeah, probably a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But long term, it's not helping. It, the inflammation, it was a net negative at the end of the day. It wasn't helping. It was moments of epiphany of, okay, it's helping me, great, I'm good. And then, you're on the down and you're like, okay, this is no good. Then I got to keep doing it.
Yes.
Perpetual cycle of doing it over and over.
Cycle, and then the drink gets you out of the shame.
And then because I drink so fast and drink so much, then you're like, oh, okay, what did I do last night?
That one.
Then it started. Then it just started being, I was blacking out a lot, and then it just got ugly.
So,
and you're in denial.
Almost a year sober, right?
Yeah. No, it's over now. Over a year.
It's over a year. So how does your body feel?
I don't count.
That a boy. How's your body feel with, again, 16 surgeries?
Yeah.
You probably had a ton of inflammation up until a year ago when you started to clean everything up. Are you noticing any changes?
I would say
differences.
I've had my right knee replaced. This knee's pretty good. 3 hand surgeries, 3 wrist surgeries, back, feet. Jaw. I've had pretty much every joint has had something to it, but it's sore, but not as sore as it was. I'm a firm believer in motion's lotion. The more you're moving, the more you're doing stuff. When you're sitting, you're typically pretty sedentary.
For sure.
You're sitting around, you're goofing off, having conversations. You're not moving around.
No.
So taking that out, plus alcohol helps inflame your system.
Yeah.
And you take that out. Now I'm less inflamed. I can see my face. My eyes are always very swollen in the morning. Just all the things that are happening, but you're kind of, well, whatever. I'll deal with it later.
Mm-hmm.
And so, now I wake up and feel great. I really focus on my knees and my back and shoulders a lot.
Is that through like a stretching protocol or
I wish.
The way you yeah.
That's always I'll make time for stretching.
Stretching. I've just committed to not making time for it. I fucking hate it.
Yeah. Lifting. I've always loved lifting. Just lift. I've incorporated heavier recently just for more gains. I was doing lighter weights, more reps, just motion and feel. A lot of times I just go by feel, and I use a lot of the same protocols that Charles taught me years ago.
Yeah, those.
And I had to every off season we'd start with typically 3 to 4 weeks of rehab protocols of you're in there, you're in like a Gold's Gym or whatever, doing shoulder things with a 2-pound weight, and you got guys in there staring at you. They're cranking out 400.
Oh yeah.
So you're like, they're weight shaming you on that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
You're in there. You're like, well, guess what I get to do when I'm healed.
Yeah.
You'll be in here lifting that, and I'll be out there.
Yes.
You'll be watching me.
Well, I think that's a great segue. So, for people who don't know anything about your career, or maybe know a little bit about your career, I just want to read off a few things just to kind of anchor this in. And it's going to lead into something that I'm super curious about. All right. So inducted into the NHL Hall of Fame, MVP for the 99-2000 season as a defenseman, the first defenseman since Bobby Orr in 1972. Now, has there been a defenseman since you?
No.
Fuck, dude. That's incredible. Number 2 overall pick by the Hartford Whalers in 93. Won the Cup with the Ducks in 07. 2 Olympic golds in 02 and 2010 for Team Canada. Ranked as one of the 100 greatest players in NHL history, and your number 44 is retired in St. Louis. So just to give people, like, you're not just the guy who played, had a cup of coffee. Like, you played, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would imagine being a number 2 pick, being a guy that's 6'6", big fella, there were a lot of expectations. And again, you're not like our friend Ray Whitney, who can kind of blend in the crowd. He kind of looks like a normal guy. Like,
not 5'8".
No. And so you're...
Maybe 5'7". Sorry, Ray.
No, Ray, we'll give you 5'9". Come on. What was that like? Because there are times when things are going great, and there are times when things aren't going great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a rough start to my career. Coming out of junior, highly regarded, second overall pick, had a great junior career, and, high expectations, going second overall, signed a big contract. The owner, I've been told, thought that maybe I was supposed to produce more offensively. I don't know. Yeah. But the guy that went first is supposed to be this goal scorer,
who went ahead of you?
Alexander Degg. You didn't remember? Number 1?
Exactly.
But, offensive production and, sell tickets, super, great skater, highly skilled, and here I am, thinking more about being more defensively sound, more two-way. Yeah, I could run the power play, but I'm focused on my end too. And, I'm more worried about winning. I don't care about the stats. I just want to win. And, we weren't that great in Hartford. It was a struggle the first couple of years. Got thrown in jail in Buffalo.
For what?
Exactly. For what? You tell me. I was in a bar with my teammates, and the bouncers came over and just literally, I'm having a conversation with our captain, Pat Verbeek, and our coach, and our assistant coach was there. And we're just talking about hockey and whatever. And the bouncer came over and just grabbed our captain's beer, just took it, said, "You got to go." Meanwhile, our whole team's in there. And I'm just like, what? And all of a sudden, the bouncer's coming forward. We're all moving back. Bouncer's coming forward. We're moving back. Now we got nowhere to go. We're against a wall. And there's like 7 of us on this side of the bar. And over there's like 7 of our teammates getting served at another bar. So it's not like they're closing the place. So I don't understand. And of course, like anything, there's one little bouncer and then there's like 4 big ones. And the little guys just, we're like, listen, we'll walk. And they're blocking the door to get out. So I'm like, here, we'll walk right by. We'll go right out. We'll leave. We don't need this. We'll leave. Sure enough, keep going. All of a sudden, boom, the cops come flying in. And then, melee ensues. And, we're all on the ground, getting maced and whatever, get thrown in jail. And I don't know, I'm 19 years old. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And, come out, I've got this jean jacket on. We come out, I'm like, oh my God, I don't see the camera. And all of a sudden I see the camera and I do the perp walk thing and I pull it. No. And, that gets played everywhere. And the owner's like, oh, no. Who is this guy? What is he doing? And my agent's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I panicked. I'm like, I don't even know what was going on. And
you're 19 for Christ's
And I'm 19 and I'm just like shocked at what happened. I still can't believe what actually happened. And so then I went to visit my brother after the season at Bowling Green. We get in a fight. I get a DUI because I'm going to leave. There was just what do you think was going on? Each one of those incidents.
Yeah.
I was drinking.
Yeah.
So as I go back, now that I stopped drinking, I'm looking back at all of these things that transpired and thinking back to, just the coping mechanism of the pressure. And I knew who I was when I was playing. I knew who I was as a player, but I didn't really know who I was as a person. You're 16, 17, 18, 19, move away from home. And all people say, oh, you're Chris, the hockey player. And I tell all these young guys, like, you can't buy into that's your identity, because someday you are going to be done and nobody's going to give a shit that you were Joe, the hockey player or whatever. You're going to need to know who you are and what you stand for. What's your value system? And because there's a lot of things that can be given to you along the way that are part of the perks, but they can be part of the downfall too. And so, I struggled, again, being tall, standing out in a crowd.
Yep.
I did not.
And recognizable because you're,
and I did not, it's not like I can just throw on a hat and a pair of sunglasses and hide.
Mm-hmm.
And so I struggled for the first, probably 6 or 7 years of my career, just handling the scrutiny in the public eye of just people always coming up. And I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I didn't really know who I was yet. I always went to like the back wall, lean against the wall. And then I could just see everything in front of me, see where everybody is. I don't like being in, now I can be in the middle and people coming around, whatever, talking. You can engage and manage a situation. Back then I could not. I could have one conversation at a time and one person at a time. And, you're getting swarmed, and you're out, but you're not really out. And it's, it can be a challenge. And so for me, my coping mechanism was I needed a drink to go out in public. And then it was more, okay, then I figured out, okay, I need to figure out something different because I'm playing and I wasn't big on, I didn't drink before games. I didn't do a lot of different things. And so I'm like, you got to go to some of these public events the night before the game. Like, well, I got to figure something out. I created an alter ego for myself. And that was my persona when I was going out in public. And I just like tried to find being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And that was my mechanism that I used to really allow myself to feel like I was somebody else, but the piece of me that knew this is how I want you to act in public, just couldn't get there and do it. That allowed me to do it and allowed me to kind of free up myself, and probably made a lot more people comfortable around me because I was always very uptight. I was very elusive and standoffish and like, why are you asking me that question? Like I was always on guard, always like aware of people. Why do you want to know what I know? Why do you want to know? What do you care what I think? You know, like,
wow.
And I would get, or somebody would be staring at me.
Yeah.
And I would be like, what's your problem? Well, they're staring at me because I play for the Blues or whatever, right? Yeah. But I don't know that. They're just staring at me. So I'm like, why are you staring at me?
Yeah.
So, just little things like that. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, I've often wondered because, again, we spend our summers, a lot of guys that played certainly in the NHL and some other places and other sports, but I am amazed that when we go out in public, that they still, some of them are certainly still very recognizable, and they still get like people coming up to them and not having the awareness. Like he's out with his 6 buddies, like trying to have a time, and it sounds like when you're playing, there's even less of a boundary there.
There are no boundaries because they don't know when they're going to see you again. So it's like going out for dinner, and you see somebody going out for dinner, a celebrity, whatever. You wait until they get their food, then you're going to go interrupt them. Like you're about to take a bite and boom, you get your elbow smacked. You're like, I don't want to bother you, but you are bothering me.
But I'm about to bother you, yeah.
Why didn't you bother me 30 minutes ago when I had nothing in front of me?
Oh, gosh.
So I tell my kids too, I want to go say hi. I go, let them eat. Give them their time and their space. If you see them again, great. If not, don't interrupt them when they're eating. You should have went over there 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And said hi and just said, hey, you're a big fan, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't want to hear that stuff. It's pick the right time.
Yeah, in the right way. In the right way to do it.
Or you meet people and they don't know what to say. So they say something and it comes out very crass, very wrong. Well, so then you say something back to them like rude or witty.
Yeah.
And now you're an asshole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, actually, you insulted me first.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you don't just get to do that.
Yeah.
And not come away unscathed.
Dude, it's such an interesting journey that you guys are on. And do you feel like what you just shared about not being comfortable in your own skin, is that very common within kind of what you saw? Do you think because you came in the league earlier than most, and obviously a very high draft pick, that there was more to it than that?
I think it might be a product of where I'm from. I'm from a very small town, especially back then. No internet, obviously no social media. No, you don't know. I got read a magazine once a week, to get any hockey news other than what was on CBC. So, you're just immersed in doing your own thing and playing the game you love and just being a kid. And that to me is what I loved. I was just allowed to be a kid. It was a great place to grow up just because there was nothing else. It was just, you're just immersed in your buddies, having fun, just enjoying.
And the people knew you. And so there wasn't that weird kind of star thing going on.
No, exactly. So then you move away and now you move down south where they're in the Toronto area where there's a ton of people from a town of 7,000 people.
Yeah.
You go down there and there's millions and millions of people and you're like, okay. And then I go to Peterborough where smaller town, but it's very highly regarded junior program. A lot of great players have come from there, highly regarded coach. And, you're just trying to fit in again and be a part of, be a piece of the wheel that you don't want to be a part of the squeaky wheel. You want to be a part of the cog in the wheel that's going to be successful and win and hopefully win a championship. And, and that then rings true for playing in the NHL and trying to win. I mean, I look back at my career. I didn't make the Stanley Cup Finals till my 13th year pro.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, there was, I had heard rumors, but I don't know if they're true, that there were a few media members that had said, oh, you're never going to win with this guy. He's no good. I heard the same things about Steve Yzerman early in his career.
Mm-hmm.
And he's regarded as one of the greatest leaders of all time.
Yeah.
It's just, you're writing somebody's story before the story's over. And there's always circumstance. Every year I was in St. Louis, we had to play Detroit. Every year in St. Louis, we had to play Dallas. Well, those teams went on to win every one of those years.
Yeah. And
so sometimes it's just not your time. And ultimately I was able to find my time, but it's there's a reason it's the hardest trophy to win.
Yeah.
And you look at your career and you're like, holy shit, it took 13 years. And then finally you win and you're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, what was that like?
You just don't want to be one of those guys looked at as, oh, he's one of the best players ever played that never won. And you're like, by the way, it's a team game.
Yeah.
I get it. Basketball, there's 5 guys in the court.
Yep.
Hockey, there's 5 guys on, but you're not on all the time.
Yeah.
So it's completely different. But you could go down a rabbit hole on that one.
Well, I'm curious. What was your favorite city favorite team to play for?
Favorite team to play on was Anaheim, just because of the way we played. We could play any way. You wanted to play tough, rock'em sock'em, have at it. You wanted to play a high octane offensive game, we'll beat you 6-5. You want to play a tight defensive game, we'll beat you 2-1.
Wow.
You could pick and choose. And I think some nights we just waited to see what the other team wanted to do. And all right, we'll beat you that way then. We were very well-rounded, well coached. We knew what we were going to do in all situations. And just everybody knew their role. Everybody played to their identity and to their role. And everybody was happy in those roles, which isn't always...
I was going to say, that's not common. Huh?
Not always true and not always common. So it was just, we had young superstars on the rise, so they weren't feeling like, oh, I should be playing above these guys. But they were right underneath them.
Yeah.
And then they were taken over as we were leaving. And so everything just... The development of all the guys in the stages we were all in, everything just fit perfectly.
How did you end up coming to play for Anaheim?
I got traded from Edmonton.
You did. For who'd you get traded for?
I got traded for Joffrey Lupul, Ladislav Schmid, and 2 first-round picks.
What was the...
You obviously don't know the story.
I'm blanking on it.
I asked for a trade.
You did.
So I got
what was
traded.
Going on?
I got traded to Edmonton. There's a long sordid story. So I get traded to Edmonton. I was at a friend's 30th birthday party, drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Get a call. You just got traded. My agent. I'm like, I'm in this country club. You're not allowed to have cell phones, but answer my phone. Go over there to answer my phone. I'm like, hey, see it's him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You just got traded. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, Lauren's in there. I go, hey, come here. Who is it? Just got traded to Edmonton. I'm like, okay, great. I've got 1 year on my deal. Right. So they have to qualify me at, I think at the time I was making 9.5 and there was a rollback much higher. They were going to have to qualify me, I think at 7.2.
God, that's so much money back then.
And,
dude, oh my God. People don't realize that was anybody making more than that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's a few, Lidstrom and Yzerman. There was a few guys making.
What are the top guys making right now? Hasn't gone up that much.
Dreisaitl's making 14 next year. McDavid's at 12.5. McKinnon's, I think, at 14. I think Matthews might be at 15 now.
So this is 16, 17, 18 years ago though, right?
This is
like 06, 07?
Almost, this is 19 years ago.
That's
05.
Wow. Okay, anyway.
So
they got to qualify.
So, that would be what would happen. So now I'm at home and I'm like, holy shit. Okay, we go back home.
Who did they trade?
They traded Eric Brewer, Jeffrey Witka, and Doug Lynch.
Okay.
To St. Louis for me. And so I get back home and I'm sitting at my desk. Lauren's like, I'm tired. I got to go to bed. I'm like, okay. So I'm just sitting in my office, having a beer, just thinking things through. I'm like, holy shit. Okay. And I was thinking I was going to have one more year in St. Louis and I knew they were shopping me. There was a bunch of rumors going around.
Were they just trying to get younger or?
They were trying to sell the team, and allegedly they thought they could sell it faster if I wasn't on the team.
Okay.
Because I was making a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they were trying to pare down costs to think, well, if somebody buys it, then they can spend whatever they want to spend.
Okay.
That was at least what I think was the theory.
Yeah.
So I get traded there. I'm having a beer. I'm thinking, I'm having another beer. And all of a sudden the phone rings. It's my agent. Hey, they want to talk to you. They want to give you a new contract. And I'm like, okay, but they got to qualify me. And then I'm going to be a free agent. Because there was another thing that happened. I thought I was going to become a free agent through the whole lockout. There were 3 players that were affected by the rules as they came in this new CBA. Me, Marty St. Louis, and Sergei Gonchar.
No shit.
All thought we were going to become free agents just based on the age requirement. And they just quietly carried it over one more year. We're not going to change it yet.
And so what does that mean?
So I was still under contract, meaning they had to qualify me. But if I was an unrestricted free agent, I could have just signed anywhere.
Okay.
So somehow in there, they just kind of greased the skids and said, don't worry about it. So when I brought it up with the PA, I'm like, well, you got 2 other guys here that thought they were going to be free agents too. Like, what, you guys didn't think about that? And I got crickets on the other end. So I just said, okay, fine. Well, then I guess I got one more year and then I'll be a free agent. Well, then, at the time I had ACL surgery. I had major wrist reconstruction. I was sore. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, I got one more year and then, sign somewhere and we'll see what happens. Now they're talking about extending me. They're like, wow, we don't want to have a 7 in your payroll number, in your salary. We want to make it longer and we'll pay you 6.5. And I'm like, I don't know. I got to think about it. And my agent calls me back and he's like, it's 32.5 million. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just like, my knees sore, everything's sore. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know how many years I got left. All right, fine. Didn't talk to Lauren, didn't do anything. I'm just thinking,
yeah.
But in my head, I'm thinking,
sounds like something I'd do.
Yeah, I know. But I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, I want to provide, I want to make some money. I want to provide. This could be my last contract. I want to make sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. You never know in sports. It could be your last contract. So I'm thinking, well, is this based on the lockout, based on the rollback, based on where salaries went to? I'm thinking, well, let me play it out. I don't know when we'll get back to where I was, salary-wise. So I'm like, all right. But I didn't talk to her.
Yeah.
And we're going to Edmonton from St. Louis, where she's from.
Oh, geez.
And we got 2 young kids and, and all these things. And I'm just like, okay, this is, and right from the jump, it was tough. And she was not happy, which I understand because I didn't talk to her. She's got a say in those types of decisions. And so that was a tough moment. And then as the year went on, I'm like, this is not going to work. And I told the team, I'm like, told my agent, you're going to have to tell them. They're going to have to trade me at the end of the year. I'm not coming back. And he's like, well, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm not coming back. So now think, we're going to the Olympics that year. Our GM is the GM of the Olympic team.
Oh, no shit.
Okay. So, there's a lot of
Who was that?
pieces, Kevin Lowe.
Yep.
So there's a lot of pieces like all in there. Number of the guys in the team are on the team. And I know this like from the jump that I'm doing this, like this is going to happen. And knowing what I've gone through in my career and all the ups and downs and the injuries and all the different stuff, like just knowing the mental fortitude it was going to take to not even focus on that. When I was playing, I was playing. When I was at the arena, I was focused on playing the game. I wasn't worried about a trade or worried about whatever else was going on around me. I was at the rink to play the game and have fun. And then the other 20 hours I was away from the rink, deal with it then. So that was like my sanctuary. And so playing the game was actually great. And people were like, oh, you asked for a trade and all this stuff. But you still went to Stanley Cup finals and you lost in a game 7. I'm like, and everybody, obviously lost their shit when I asked for a trade. They burned my kid's crib.
What?
So I had rental furniture at the house I owned and I gave it back. Some radio station found out that I had rental furniture, bought the furniture, and had to burn Chris Pronger's furniture bonfire. And they wonder why nobody wants to sign there when they do stuff like that.
Sheldon had a horrible experience there.
But so moments I had, so then I equated it to people that give it to me. I'm like, so if I played bad, would you want me traded? They're like, yeah. I go, well, then what's the difference? Why do you get to say where and when I get to go somewhere? Why do you are able to stand there and tell me how I come and go? No, you don't get to do that. Yes, I understand I signed that contract. But guess what? If I don't want to get paid and I don't play, that's on me. That's on me. So I told them, like, you're going to have to trade me. So they just started tracking teams and tracking things. And they'd always check in or, are you still? I'm like, yeah, I'm still. But I was playing great. We were having a good year. And then things just, took off. We got a goalie at the deadline and he was awesome. And everything clicked at the right time. We just started playing incredible hockey and timely goal scoring and just everything, when things go right, things are clicking, finding a way to win different ways. And goalies coming up with huge saves and big penalty kills and power plays and all these things. And then the season is over. We lose game 7.
Your goalie got hurt, right?
Goalie got hurt in game 1. And then there's a shitstorm. Obviously, I asked for this trade and it gets announced the next day.
Oh, no shit.
Complete shitstorm. But I got a vacation plan with Lauren.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm going on. They're like, oh, why didn't you stay around and meet the media? I go, why do I need to meet the media?
Right.
You're just going to sit there and grill me the same question over and over and over. Doesn't matter what I say.
Yeah.
You're just going to keep grilling till you get what you want.
Yeah, until I say something.
And then all these rumors come out about all this other garbage, which were not true. But they were trying to justify why I would ask for a trade.
Yep.
And then ultimately I get traded to Anaheim. And, we win a cup. And then it's funny enough, it's amazing. I didn't pick up on it. I should have known. We win the cup and I was on a team junket and we were sitting at dinner and Brian Burke was our GM. And I had 3 years left of my deal and I was 32. And I'm like, well, when you guys re-signed me, and he just, it was an immediate wake-up call. You're assuming we want to re-sign you. Just won the cup. I just was up for the Norris Trophy with Scott Niedermayer. I was just like, and I was like, it hit me like that again, like, this is a business, kid. Fuck. And the moment he said that, we got off the trip and I said to Lauren, I go, we need to sell our house. Like, we're not resigning here.
Yeah.
Why else would he make a comment like that?
Yeah.
And sure enough, we go through, we play that next year. And then the next year, the whole year, rumors about I'm getting shopped, and normally, your agents dialed in, everybody in the media, they all know everything.
Yeah.
Oh, they were shopping me. They were just trying to see what my value was, seeing who they could. And then they were thinking about moving me at the deadline and like, we'll just trade him at the draft. And sure enough, I got traded to Philly at the draft. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's funny, I met with the GM in Vegas at a team junket for their sponsors and whatever. And, again, I'm trying to be the good soldier. I'm a leader on the team. I'm like, okay, I'm still part of the team. You haven't traded me yet. So I'm like, I'll go. Sure. I'll be the guy that can greet the sponsors and talk about the team and do whatever. Meanwhile, knowing I'm out of here, and sure enough, I kept saying, hey, let's meet. So I'm like not drinking much because I'm like, I know I got to talk to this guy, and he keeps pushing me off. Now it's like 2 a.m.
Jesus.
I'm like, hey, are we going to meet? And finally we finally met, and he's like, I don't want to insult you with a lowball offer. And I'm like, so I'm out of here. Okay. And literally a week later, gone. So it just, the career arc and all these situations that happen, it's just a wake up call to how life really is, and how sports really is, and really business in general. Like, it's just, you need to realize you are just a piece of meat. Like, you are used until you're not useful, and bring in the next guy who hopefully can do something similar for less.
Yeah.
So, and now it didn't work out very well for them. They weren't very good the next couple of years, but that's neither here nor there.
How long did you play with Philly?
3 years. And then I
went
got
back
hurt.
to the Cup Finals against Chicago.
Yeah.
And then
I had, so I had 1 year left of my deal when I got traded there.
Yep.
Then I signed a 7-year extension. So now I thought I was signing my last contract. So now you remember, I thought I was signing my last contract when I went to Edmonton. But now I felt great, right? So now I feel really good going to Philly. I got 1 year in my deal. I feel great. And, I'm like, yeah, okay. I wanted a 5-year deal. They're like, we need to do a 7.
Just for the money.
The way the money and the structure and all that stuff. And it, I had a great first year there. Had a start to a really good second year. And then I broke my hand.
Yeah.
And then when I came back for the playoffs, hurt my back. Back surgery.
That was a bad one, wasn't it?
It was bad. That was as bad as I've ever. That's the worst injury I've ever had, pain wise. I don't know. I'd be just sweating, trying to move, trying to get out of my car. I don't know. I just heard a pop when I was skating.
Yep.
And I was like, that was funny. And I just kept playing. It was fine. Woke up in the morning.
This was in the playoffs.
I was in the playoffs. That was game 7 in Buffalo. We won. Fine. Good. Boom. And then I woke up the next morning. My ass was burning. I'm like, oh, that's funny. We had a day off. So I went in, got some therapy. I'm thinking, okay, whatever. Woke up the next morning. Ass is burning. Hamstrings tight. Go out, skate. Think, okay, maybe I need to skate it off. Woke up the next morning, the day before the game. My ass is burning. My hamstring's tight. My calf is locked. And I'm like, this is not right. Something's going on here. Finish practice, massage, all this stuff. Wake up the morning of the game. I think it was like a 2 or 3 o'clock game. And it's like 8 a.m. and I call the trainer. I'm in a panic. My ass is burning. My hamstring's tight. My calf is locked. And now my foot, I can't move my foot. Day of the game.
Next?
Day of the game.
Know what's going to happen the next day.
Day of the game. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Some toenail falls off.
Oh my God. So I'm like, okay. He's like, okay, go to the hospital. They're going to meet you there. They're going to take pictures and do whatever they got to do. Go in there. They give me an epidural and they shoot some dye in there. They do whatever they got to do. And he's like, okay, well, the epidural took the pain away. So I'm like, all right, I'll play. Not great. 20 minutes. I mean, I could barely move. I had one leg, kind of hop along all the way around the ice, just kind of like peg leg.
Could they tell that you were hurting the other?
Oh, I'm sure they had to have.
Yep.
I wasn't moving very well. Like I remember being at the blue line. There was an icing. I was at the blue line. 4th line guy that I played with in Anaheim was at the red line. Almost beat me to the icing.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, oh my God, come on. And he's a good skater, but not that good.
Yeah.
And so I was so compromised. And then I saw the pictures, went in and got an MRI, and they're like, yeah, you got a L4, L5, it's out. Oh, great. So then I waited for the series to be done, and then I went and got surgery and felt actually amazing coming out of the surgery. But for the 2 weeks that I didn't have surgery, getting in and out of my car, it'd take me 5 minutes. I had to eat standing up because I didn't want to sit down because then I'd have to get up and I'd be just drenched in sweat, just gray and ashen all the time. And the pain was just shooting like nothing I've ever had before. And I've had everything. And that was by far the worst.
Damn. A concussion took you out for good, huh?
Yeah.
What happened there? You'd had a couple.
I've had
documented, but probably plenty more, huh?
Yeah, I don't even know if I've had any documented.
Oh, really?
Back I remember I got hit one time in LA in the playoffs. I think it was 97, maybe 98, but I think it was 97. I was coming up the boards. I made a pass. Glenn Murray came to hit me. Just casual hit. Like, he didn't come and try to bury me. He just hit me. But I don't know, the way I was standing, he hit my chin. Boom. And I fell down like half a second. I was out. And by the time we both fell down, we both got up. Luckily, I was right by the bench. I just got up, went right to the bench, and I was seeing stars. And I just was like, this is not great. And I played the rest of the game like this, sat back, and I could see under the bright lights.
No,
and just played. I didn't jump up, didn't do anything crazy. Just took it easy and just played defense and sat back in the rocking chair and just keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Don't do anything crazy. And luckily that was, we swept them. That was game 4. So I had a week or week and a half off before the next series started. So then I was fine. But I remember waking up the next day and I was groggy and a little out of sorts. But at that time, you didn't really know what it was. I got hit one time in front of the bench. You both go down. I don't know if I hit my head on the boards or something. And you're right by the bench. Change.
Yeah.
And you don't really think anything of it. Now you hit your head on the glass all the time. I got hit by Bufflin in the finals in 2010.
Oy.
He came to hit me. I reversed into him. I hit my head against the glass. And I just remember I was a little out of it for a second. Again, right by the bench. Change. But it wasn't that big of an issue for me. It was not going to stop me from playing. It just I hated sitting up top, and you're hurt. You got a knee or a hand or whatever. I just hate sitting out.
Mm-hmm.
Just not mentally. It's way harder sitting out than it is playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just always wanted to play. And then I got hurt in Philly, and I came back. So I got hit in the eye with a stick, and it was coming up, and I moved.
Like a follow through on a slap
it
shot?
came up. Yeah, he shot, and it went. I put my stick out, and it went up my stick.
Yeah,
and it was coming right from my eye, and I moved, and so it hit me. Instead of breaking my orbital,
yep,
I moved, and it hit me right in the eye. So, I had a lot of internal bleeding and hemorrhaging in my eye, and I had just like a little 2-stitch cut, which is crazy how hard he hit me. Like, you could hear the thud. And so I'm like, go in the locker room and, losing my shit. I can't see, it's bleeding, the blood in my eye, and just everything just swelling. And so for the first 9 days, I had to lay in bed, just putting these drops in the dark, just trying to get the blood out and just see if I could get my vision back, because it was so blurry with all the blood and stuff. And so day 9, I get cleared. No, it's clear. You're good. You can see everything's fine. And day 10, I go for a walk, and I just casually ride my bike in my house. And then day 11, I go to the rink and skate by myself. Day 12, practice with the Black Aces, just kind of with the extras. And then day 13, I practiced with the team. And day 14, I played the game against Tampa. And it was a casual game, nothing really going on. But I was like, I felt a little nauseous, bit of a headache. But it was not that big a deal. And then when I got to Florida, I slid on a 2-on-1, kind of banged the boards a little hard. That jarring I could feel, got a little more nauseous, a little more of a headache. Carolina, I slid on a 2-on-1, and a guy slid into me. and, knocked him over, and he slid into me, banged my head. That got me all jacked up, and then flew back. We played Phoenix the next night at home, got hit from behind late in the game and banged my head against a glass, and it's one of those where you're a little out of it, but now you're pissed off.
Oh.
And I'm looking at the referee. There's no call. Now I lose my shit. I'm screaming at the ref, and I'm trying to grab the guy, screaming at the ref. And then we fly up to Winnipeg. This is Winnipeg's first year back in the league. So it is insanely loud, crazy loud. And we get up, get into the game. And even before the game started, you can hear the crowd just chanting, and it's just freaking loud in that building. It's nice, tight confines. And my head is just pounding, and I'm very, very nauseous. This is the worst I've felt of the 5 games. And we get playing, and it's crazy loud. And I was doing stuff that I never did. Like, I go to take a one-timer, and I fell, missed the puck and fell, trying to take a one-timer. Another time, I came out of the penalty box with a guy, and I knew he was right here. I knew he was here. And I go back, I pick the puck up, I just casually turned right into him. Thank God I had my reputation and he didn't even try to hit me. He could have killed me. Like, I would have been dead because I wasn't even prepared. I just kind of lazy days, turned into him, moving. I'm like, holy shit. And then just my head, after the game, my head's pounding and I'm super nauseous. And I finally went to the trainer. I'm like, okay, this is enough. Like, I got to get checked out. Something's wrong. In the early beginnings, I thought I'm out of shape. 2 weeks is a long time. So I'm thinking, I'm out of shape. But, again, like everything, you're in denial. You're like, okay, maybe it can't be that.
Right.
It's got to be something else. I'm out of shape. Why look at what it probably is?
Yeah.
And when I got hit, we were so worried about my eye. We weren't really focused on concussion or anything that. I was more worried about my eye.
Yeah.
And worried about what was going to happen with that than I was with anything else. So I had a vestibular concussion, so it was affecting my eye and that part of my brain. So then I went to Pittsburgh and met with a specialist there, Mickey Collins, and he looked at me, he looked at my file, he looked at me and he's like, how many concussions have you had? I'm like, I don't know, like 50, 100? I don't know. Like, I don't count them. Yeah. And I mean, at that time I was like, is it a stinger? Was it a stinger? Oh, I hurt my neck. Just all the things that people would, okay, no, it was a concussion. And he's like, oh, it's a vestibular concussion. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What does that mean? And he's like, well, you get hit in the eye and this is where it's affecting your part of the brain. And this is why your headaches are over here and not over here. I'm like, holy shit. I didn't know any of that. And, he just started walking me through that. And then I came back from that. I'm like, okay, you're done. There's no way you can play. And Ed Snyder was the owner of Philly, and he saw my file, and he's like, he used to always send it to his son-in-law, who was a doctor, and he's like, how is this guy even playing? Looking at my file, my laundry list of all my different surgeries and everything that's gone on, and he's like, that guy can't play anymore. He's done. And so thankfully he was able to just let me move back to St. Louis. I was in Philly for that whole year. And when you have a concussion and you have a head injury, you look fine. I mean, I was still able to work out. You look like you're fine, but you're not. And when you come back, you look great when you come back. I'm like, you need to hear this right now.
Yeah.
And so, I was there for the rest of that year and just trying, being around the team and trying to help out and do what I can. And after that, I'm like, I need to get out of here. It's not working and it's not good for my health. I need to get away and just get my eye right and get healthy. And I think I spent 18 months rehabbing my eye and doing all kinds of therapy to kind of retrain my eye to focus. And I spent 3 months without these glasses. I didn't wear glasses for 3 months. So I'm reading books and I'm like getting these raging headaches. Well, my eye was blurry. I didn't know it, because I went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor that I then went to in Pittsburgh, he didn't even pick up on it in the beginning, because I don't know, I was able to see most of the stuff that they were showing me. And then he took another look and he put these drops in and he's like, holy shit. So then he's like, here, put these on. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, and he had me read a book for a little bit. And he's like, how you feel? I go, really good. It's like, oh, and it was just something to do with my concussion and obviously the trauma from the stick hitting the eye. And so.
How's your eyesight today?
It's good. I mean,
any headaches or anything from?
My eyes get, when my eyes are tired, like I could never sleep on a plane, could never sleep on a bus, could never, I needed to be in a bed. When my eyes tired, I'm out. It's over. Yeah. Find me somewhere to set my head.
Yeah.
Because once my eye gets tired, it's over.
It's probably kind of nice.
Yeah, it is nice.
A lot more rest.
Very well rested.
So, I mean, you can imagine you always have an idea of how you're going to go out, right? I just think about my own life, and as a trader, it's like, I'm going to go out on a great year. We're going to off into the sunset, and it's not exactly what happened. You know?
It very, very rarely do you ever get the John Elway 2 Super Bowls and I'm done.
Yeah.
It never works that way. Only the lucky ones get to end on a high like that. It's either somebody's telling you you're not good enough, or they don't give you a contract, or they just don't hire you, or you just figure out, okay, how much more do I want to do this? Do I want to put the time and effort in to train, to do all this stuff, or do I want to just, okay, enough's enough and let's figure out what's next?
So you go back to St. Louis. How hard was what was next for you? What was that like, not having, there's so much for your entire life, you've had this structure, this schedule, you've had a coach telling you what to do or a program, and you've had teammates, you've been in locker rooms, you've been a part of something. As I know it, even me playing in college sports, like I know that like when that team's not there, you can feel like you're on an island.
Yeah, it was that part wasn't too bad. We had a really good alumni in St. Louis. A lot of players.
You do, yeah.
There's probably 50, 60 guys in St. Louis. So there's a lot of different events, guys going to the games and whatever and whatnot. But, I think for me, it was more just you're watching games. So I was helping Philly a little bit, and just watching the games and critiquing and giving my input. And you're just watching the games and like, that wouldn't happen if I was there. Why is he making that up? You're playing the game as you're watching it, thinking you could still be there.
Yeah.
And then I hit 40 and, the next year and I hit 40 and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
These guys are too fast. They're too, it took probably a year and a half to then come to the conclusion, all right, stop watching it in that way. Like you could do that or you could fix that and just watch the game without playing the game in your mind. Just watch it and be like, okay, critique in that regard, not if you were doing it, what would you do? If they're doing it, focus on what they're doing. And that was a big relief and kind of help. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
Kind of turn the page on that part of it. Because if you're just watching it thinking you could still do that, you're not doing yourself any favors.
No.
And especially when you can't,
yeah,
you're just driving yourself bananas.
Yeah.
Especially if you're watching a lot and you're like, why the hell are they doing this? And we had the goalie who was being an idiot. And I'm like, that guy would not be doing that if I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just, and some of the moves were made thinking I was going to be there. So it was, the year I got hurt, we had Yager and he came back from Russia, I think that year. And, we had a good team and I was off to a good start that year. I think I had 12 points in 13 games or 13 points in 12 games or something like that. So I was off to a good start. We were off to a good start. The team was kind of cranking. Everybody, the younger guys that we had were coming together, developing, and coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah.
But it's as much as you plan for it and as much as you think you're prepared for it, the end always sucks. And, especially when enjoy being in the locker room, enjoy the process, enjoy the training, enjoy practicing, enjoy, being around your teammates and watching the team chemistry evolve and grow. And, every year is different. And so you're always matchmaking, in a certain way, and trying to find the right chemistry and trying to find the right, coaches are trying to find the right line mates and et cetera. But you're also, as a leader, trying to figure out how best to lead this team, and what worked last year is not necessarily what's going to work this year. So it's
his whole game within the game.
Yeah. And
it was your sanctuary.
Yeah.
As you said.
Yeah. Then you don't have it and you're like, hey, well, now what do you do? Now where do you got a lot of free time, and I coach my kids in hockey and I coach my kids in other stuff. And, that fills some of that void, but you still got a lot of downtime. You got a lot of time on your hands to figure out, as I said, the first 18 months I was focused on my eye and focused on healing and getting better and figuring out my body and that type of stuff. But after that, you're trying to map out what's next. And you think, like I thought I wanted to be a GM president of a team someday. And you start going down that path and realize, it's not for me.
Yeah. What was it about that just didn't fit for you?
I don't politic very well.
Yeah.
And it's just not, I'd spent 30 years in that culture of being told where to go, what to do. And I just didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And, I worked for a great guy in Dale Talon. He was awesome to me. GM in Florida at the time.
Yeah, that's right. He came from Chicago. I remember his Chicago years.
He was great to me. Learned a lot from him. But ultimately, it just wasn't for me. And you know what? If you don't go down that path, you don't put the effort forth in trying to see if it's, you're always going to say, well, why didn't I do that? I could have did that. And ultimately you're like, you know what? I tried. Didn't work out.
Yeah, I got a great friend, Boyd Vardy. He's been on the podcast a handful of times, and he likes to say that the path of not here is part of the path of here. So you got to figure that out, that's not it. And now I know, because I've had that experience.
Yeah.
And now you're out on the speaking scene. You're doing a lot of keynotes and
yeah.
I know we were talking at breakfast the other day that it's not just one kind of put together keynote. It's like whatever you're feeling called to share, whatever the group is needing, like you get to draw on your experience and really bring that medicine of the shit you've gone through. Yeah. Not like some super polished NHL guy who's always had it great. It's like, no, man, I've had shit just like you.
Yeah. I tell people it's the journey. They always see the shiny trophies and the rings and the stuff over here. They always forget about the early days of the journey and how hard it was and the adversity you faced and all the shit that probably not so nice. And then you get to this point where you've got that inflection point of, I get it. I know how to be a pro. I know how to handle the media. I know how to, be a leader. I know how I need to play each and every night to be successful and bring what I know to the game. And once you get to that point, then it becomes easy because you know what you need to do every single day. But there's all this learning early on. Messy. And it was messy.
Yeah.
I think you just heard that.
Yeah.
It was very messy. But if you don't, I'm a firm believer, if you don't go through that, how do you know what this is over here? If you've never had adversity and it's always been a straight line up, how do you know this is where you're supposed to be? What if you should have been up here?
Yeah.
You don't know how big that arc is. If you've never had any downtimes, if you've never been like, how many athletes do you know have been booed out of their own building?
Oh, yeah.
Their own building for a whole year.
Yeah. Fuck. That's
for intense. A whole year. And then you're going, you're leaving the rink and you're just.
I can't imagine that.
Devastated, leaving the rink, getting booed every night.
That's like, pretty, as shitty as fans can be, it's very rare for them to boo their own for an entire year.
For the whole game.
Yeah.
So it moments like those, you builds character, find out who you are real quick, what you're made of, and your circle. You find your circle. You find your circle real quick. You see who's jumping off that bandwagon real quick. I've got a very long memory. I've got a memory like an elephant. I could still name those broken ankle people.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, because you drove me every single day. Those moments in the gym when I thought I was tired, not today.
Yeah.
Little added fuel today. You, my friend, have just added to the fuel today. I'm going to pump out an extra 15 minutes here.
Yeah. Well, how about this? Again, you're on the eve of turning 50.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely a milestone, and I'm curious, even going back, a year or two, thinking about what maybe 50 was going to mean to you. And would you say that it's different as you're, again, sitting on, the eve of that kind of day? Is, how are you feeling going into 50?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to make 50. My nickname growing up was Chaos for a reason.
No shit.
Yeah, I think I say that tongue in cheek, but I think I've smoothed out those rough edges over the years. And I think 2 years ago, my answer would be completely different to what my answer would have been a year ago to what my answer is today. As we evolve, I think the biggest thing that I learned during my career and now my life is just constant growth. You have to be evolving all the time, whether it's sports, business, life, whatever, marriage. You have to be evolving all the time. You have to be growing. If you are stagnant, you are actually going the wrong way. And so, leveling up. I mean, I talk about it a lot in my speeches, but leveling up, like, whether it's, what are you willing to sacrifice to be successful? Do you really want to drink? Do you need that? Is that a crutch? Is that, or just something fun? And why do you need to do it then? And, making a decision and a choice. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that because I want to do this. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen the John Mayer video. Did you see the John Mayer video when he said he stopped drinking? If I told you,
yes,
you could have 100% of your faculties every single day, would you choose that over 60%? Oh, I would choose 100. Yeah. It's something to that effect.
Yes.
And I just, when I watch that one, I'm just like, that. Why wouldn't you want that?
We're sold something way different, aren't we?
So I would say, like, I enjoyed the ride.
Yeah.
But it's not over.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, again, people want to pigeonhole you into telling you who you are versus you showing who you are and you knowing who you are. And I think that, to your shirt, the unlearn being told who you are, like, nothing pisses me off more than hearing people say, oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, he plays hockey. Okay, he plays hockey, but that's not who he is.
Yeah.
And so for me, for the longest time, I fought against that. People saying that, I just pissed me off all the time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why are you getting mad? Like, just go prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And just show them there's more layers to you and there's more, in a good way, not like you're trying to show them up, but in a good way. Like, just show them.
Yeah.
There's more to you. Work harder, study longer, learn more.
They turn quickly too when they see it. Oh,
sure they do. When they see,
and that's a big lesson for them. I mean, we've all been there where we've put a judgment on someone because we think we know them, and it's way easier just to, label someone in a particular way, and then we see them way differently as a fucking human.
Yeah.
With a lot of complexity.
Or we
and
hold
layers.
people up to this standard and they're like way down here. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I even had that person up there.
Yeah.
You see somebody and you're like, oh, I can't wait to meet that person. You meet him, you're like,
Yeah, not my favorite.
Yeah, probably don't want to meet that one again.
Yeah, I'm good.
Note to self, don't ever say hi to that one again.
Yeah, check that box.
I've had a few of those and I'm like, And I try not to, like, you're always going to have moments where you're having a bad day or you're whatever. somebody's pissing you off, somebody does something, you're not going to bat 1,000%, but you try to bat, 900 or 950.
Yeah, you get up there. Some days are better than others.
Yeah,
some
but
days
for
we're
the most
fouling off
part-
a lot of pitches.
Yes, but that's not a strikeout.
No, we're still hanging in the batter's box.
But you just show a little bit of respect to people and a
Yeah.
little bit of, there's some people you're just like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
Whatever, you do you, but don't come near me no more.
Well, my wife has a saying, and it was always with regards to the kids. And it always helped me when I thought about it, when it was, we were kind of struggling with them. And it's that he or she is not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
And it's like, that not only applies to kids, my kids, your kids, everyone, it applies to everybody. When
Yeah.
someone is acting out,
They're struggling.
they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
Now, we personalize it like, fuck this guy. Like,
Yeah.
he's being an asshole to me.
Yeah.
He's a conceited prick, and he's this and he's that, and he's talking shit. And it's just like, I'm getting caught up in his bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's like,
It's like today, honestly, on the plane today, guy reefs his seat back into me.
oh,
And I looked at Lauren and she just looked at me like, oh boy. I was like, I'm good. No, I'll give him a little grace. Then he did it a couple more times. Then I pushed the seat
get
a little bit. Just push the seat a little
Yeah.
bit. And I was like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
You do you, brother. Just be careful. Guy was screaming in the airport today. I love that. He's talking into his phone. The whole gate could hear him screaming into his phone. Oh my! I'm like,
bro.
oh my God.
Just the lack of self-awareness that fucking gets me.
Oh man. And I got up, we got up, changed seats.
Yeah.
I walked by a guy and I just literally was like,
You give him a
and he
little
looked
bit
at
of the
me
stink
and he's
eye.
like, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? It's growth.
Yes.
Chaos wouldn't have done that.
There you go.
It's growth.
I've been
Learning. Today, day before my 50th birthday.
You're
you saw
always
it.
learning. Let's
I'm
go.
always learning and growing.
Well, dude, I've been struggling with driving lately. The passing lane, the motherfuckers in the passing lane are going
40.
the speed limit or below, and I'm just boxed in, and it's happened a lot lately. So I'm just so curious. Like, I think it's just, can you just be? Why are you in such a fucking rush? For me, it's like, can
Yeah.
I really feel like as I'm saying this,
but it's also the rules.
I understand
Don't go slow
that.
in the left lane.
I
That's a
understand-
rule.
and that's what's so aggravating about it.
Yes.
It's not just something I think it is. It's a fucking law,
Yeah.
or a rule, or it's something. God damn it! It happened on the way out here, and I stopped to go to my buddy's place, the Matter of Bio Wellness. It happened on the way there, and then I got in there, did my thing, and it happened on the way here. It's just like, what's going on with the universe? It's
Yeah.
just boxing me in right now.
Today, they had me cornered.
Yeah. So, this has been amazing. I knew it would be. And I'm excited about part 2 as people don't know, originally I was going to have you and your wife, Lauren, on together. And I just had this epiphany that it would be really cool to have you share your story. And then have Lauren not only share her story, just her own journey through life, but as like a part 2, like, what's it like being married to
Chaos.
I was thinking more specifically someone who, is a Hall of Fame hockey player, right? And because I think so many times, the Chris Prongers, the Sheldon Surrays, they get to voice their story on podcasts and they get to share it. And it's really amazing. It's really helpful to people, for people to humanize you and to connect with you. And I think it's going to be really awesome.
That's one of the reasons why I like the speaking is a lot of times as athletes, we get put on pedestals.
Mhm.
You've seen it 1,000 times.
Yep.
And sometimes, yes, most of the times it's we're just normal people. We go through the same shit. we are closer to the everyday person than they think.
Yeah.
We all struggle with the same stuff. We all work on the same things, some better than others. And some have figured it out that in a way that allows them to function better. And then other times we get off track and we go through the same crap. And you need a reboot, a reset, kick in the ass, whatever it takes to get back on track.
Well, and I think that can be very cathartic too. I know just for me being able to do the podcast, I get to share my side of my story that people don't see. You know, people may see me on Instagram. They may know me kind of through whatever, and they just have this idea about who I am and how great and easy my life is.
And by the way, that right there, this idea that they know your life, and that's why I try to post like social media. Everybody posts the good shit. I'm like, I'll post all of it.
Yep.
The shitty stuff too, so people realize I got bad days too. I've had a lot of bad shit happen to me. Get up, dust yourself off, and get after it again.
Yes.
Like it's not gonna be the only time I fail. It's not gonna be the only time I lose something. Like, doesn't mean you gotta like it, but dust yourself off and get back in the game, whatever that is, the game of life.
And I'm guessing for you too, it becomes difficult when people do put you up on that pedestal, when you know how you're feeling inside and you're like, I don't fucking belong up there. I'm just like everybody else. And so you start to, even if you start to believe that bullshit, then your soul knows like, no, bro, you ain't that. And it will bring you back down to level quite quickly. And, sometimes devastatingly.
And I tried always, remember where I'm from, remember my roots. I was once one of those kids waiting around for an autograph. So it's like my first year pro in Hartford, I played in the Greater Hartford Open Pro-Am. And I won't say his name, but he was a Boston Red Sox player.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't have been a bigger asshole. And these kids walked up to him to get his autograph. It's a Pro-Am, bro.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break.
Yes.
And these kids walked up to him to get his autograph. No, not signing. I'm working on my game. And I've seen those same players, those same people, when they're retired. Why don't you want my autograph? And I just, that always, I was 18 years old at the time. That always stuck with me. Don't be that guy. Yeah. Don't be that guy. Because it just didn't sit well then. It doesn't sit well now.
Good for you.
There's a limit.
Understood.
You've seen the Seekers and you've seen all these people.
Yes.
There's a limit. But, you get a bunch of kids and you get like, give me a break. Yeah. You're at an event. Sign this stuff, would you?
Yeah.
They paid money to actually be here to watch you slice your ball into the woods.
All right. So how can people get in touch with you?
All right.
Speaking engagements.
Let's see. Let's go website, www.theworldwideweb.chrispronger.com. That's number one. At the Chris Pronger on Instagram. At Chris Pronger on X. At the Chris Pronger on Threads. Oh, I got all kinds of shit.
Fucking A.
But that's probably good.
Lauren will cover some of the other stuff.
Lauren will cover all the other stuff, but travel business at Well Inspired Travels. She's got all her stuff. Yeah, I mean, Google my name. It'll pull up.
Yeah.
I've now optimized everything. All the stuff that you've heard, it's like 5, 6, or 7 pages deep. Oh, man. And by the way, Google did screw me once. So all the shit from Edmonton.
Yeah.
All the rumors, all the garbage, right? I get to Anaheim. I get my house. I go to get insurance. Insurance company Googled my name and all this stuff pulled up. We're not insuring you.
No,
I swear to God. I'm like, whoa. What are you talking about? I'm like, it's on the internet. It's not true.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, sorry, you're high risk. I'm like, I've been a customer for 12 years. No. I'm like, okay then.
Holy
Awesome.
shit.
So I'm like, okay, note to self. Check.
Yeah.
Let's add them over here into the mental Rolodex of who to get later on.
Yeah. I had that recently with something. I don't want to speak too much about it, but with insurance. And they did a Google search and they went pretty deep, and there's nothing I did wrong, but there was some things that they didn't want to cover, which I'll talk to you about after the podcast. But it was like, what the fuck? Seriously?
Yeah. Hello.
Look.
Specimen.
We'll just keep everybody guessing on that one.
Yeah.
Well, dude, welcome back to Austin.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I know you're here for, you got your birthday. We got a big golf weekend this weekend.
Do people know you're my neighbor?
No, we're right next to each other at our place. Yeah. Frickin' A. I'm 24. What are you, 20?
25.
25. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, we got a good lane.
Yeah, we do. Strong. It's healthy.
Yes. It is very healthy.
It's sober.
Yes.
Sober lane.
Hey,
we might be the only ones on the block. But
yeah, probably.
Started trends before.
Yeah, but you know what's funny? Like, there's people ask, oh my God, there's booze always around. I'm like, so?
Yeah.
I don't care. She drinks. I don't care.
Same with Peyton. She has a cocktail here and there.
Doesn't bother me.
It does not. I don't ever
I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how I looked.
Yeah, I'll keep my part off the podcast. I've been known to get in trouble. But yeah, it is good though. I think you've had the same experience. It sounds like that when you start peeling these things away, like you just start to go back to like advocating for yourself and for your body and for your health. And it becomes really easy to work out. It becomes easier to eat better. You sleep better. You just start to do the things.
Well, I would say the mental clarity you have.
Oh gosh.
And by the way, that mental clarity has helped me figure out how and what I want to do to help people.
Yes.
And it's through my journey, through, all of the circuitous route that I've taken and the decisions that I've had to make, some good, many bad, and how that can help people. Just, you hear people all the time, oh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, listen, I don't know what to do either, but here's what I did.
Yeah.
Here's the good ones I did. Here's the bad ones I did. I'm not batting 1,000. I can tell you that.
No, but people, we got to have those quote unquote bad ones. That's what informs us. Those are the big learnings.
What was the decision process in the bad one so that you can hopefully have a better outcome next time?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's too easy to,
I think people don't, and also one of the biggest things, people don't realize how often athletes fail. We fail all the time. That's, we talk about, it's a game of mistakes. Yeah, that's called failing. Yeah. Game of mistakes, that's failing. Hall of Fame baseball player bats .330. That's, you know what that is?
That's 1 out of every 3 times.
Yeah.
You get a hit. 1 out of
3, not 2 out of 3, 1 out of 3.
Yeah.
Like that, but that's a Hall of Fame baseball player. Think about it. Like yes, it's good in the sport, but that's a lot of failing too.
Yeah.
So, when you put it in that perspective for people, like, oh, never thought of it that way. And it kind of makes them feel more normal.
Yeah.
Because they feel like, you always feel like you're on an island when you're failing. Oh my God. Because everybody posts all their good shit. Everybody's focused on social media and focused on the filtered pictures and everything that's all gussied up. And you're like, no, that's not how real world works.
No.
Try to explain that to your kids and like, don't worry about all that stuff. Focus on you, focus on learning and growing and developing.
Get in the game. We always, sometimes we want it to be perfect before we start. And it's like, I know, again, I'll get into this with Lauren, but her just starting the Well-Inspired Travel, it's like, I know that thing wasn't buttoned up when she launched it.
Yeah.
But where it is today, like it's an overnight success that took 10 years or whatever it is, right? It's one of those classic, people don't see all that goes into that. And
to that right there, like, I'll go back to my career. First year in Hartford, was okay. Second year was not good. Traded to St. Louis. First year was tough. Second year was better, but still wasn't. I was still developing. Fifth year was kind of my coming out party. And then after that, okay, I've got it figured out. I got a trainer. I've got 5 years. My career was 19. Like,
Damn.
That's a long time in somebody's career to use to figure it out. And now in this day and age, these kids, 5 years, man, they're like, oh, he's terrible. He's never going to get it. Took me 5 years to like get to, oh, that's Chris Pronger.
Yeah. By the way, 19 years is a long time.
It's a long time, but 5 years out of 19 years is a long time. You know, and I get, I was 18, whatever, but still, it's still a long time. Especially today when players are asked to play at 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
I don't know if they get 5 years now to figure it out. Mm-hmm. They got to have it figured out like now.
Mm-hmm.
So
especially high draft pick.
Yeah. No, and to your point, all these businesses and things, you're all constantly iterating, constantly trying things, constantly trying to figure out what's going to make it better. How's it going to work? So,
anyway, awesome, great, man. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be on the Unlearn.
Hell yeah.
And this is the Unlearn.
Yes.